Hello everybody, welcome back to C&S Corvettes in beautiful sunny Sarasota, Florida. It's your Corvette buddy Lyle here to talk to you about more interesting, exciting, and hopefully helpful Corvette stuff. Today I'm going to rely on a recommendation made by Tony, our video producer, asking me to list what I think which Corvettes will be future classics in 20 years and which ones may be the future forgotten in 20 years. And it's a lot of thought process went into this, and I'm going to be interested to hear your take on it. So let's get started. It goes without saying that I really love Corvettes. So putting together a list of what I think are going to be future classics was easy because they're the cars that really speak to my soul, and that, I think that even if they are not popular in 5 years, in 15 more years on top of that, they may be remembered as really awesome. A good example would be like the 75 through 79 Corvettes. They were not powerful. For a long time, they were just kind of like, yeah, they're Corvettes, But today, if you just want a beautiful C3 to drive around on a Sunday, they are the least expensive and among the more comfortable and maintainable versions of the C3. So they've actually come back in desirability a little bit, which we wouldn't have pictured 10 years ago. So the tough part was the forgottens, the ones I don't think are going to be remembered fondly in 20 years. And we'll get into that. There's only a handful of them. So without further ado, the beginning of the future classics, the 1993 through the 1995 ZR1. Now, I know that the ZR1, at least the C4 version, doesn't get a lot of love today because of the complexity and the difficulty of finding parts and this, that, and the other. But when they boosted the horsepower to 405 horses in 1993, and then in 94 continued that, and then 95 was the overall best build quality of any Corvette ever, was the 95 ZR1. I think that for a niche of the collector community, you're going to see those cars in 20 years become very special, because they were only making a handful of them in 93, 94, and 95. You're talking, 400, 500 a year. So these are going to be very rare. They are very exotic, at least from an engineering perspective. I think you're going to see those be desirable far more than they are now in the kind of sort of distant future. The 96 Grand Sport, same thing. I believe that car, limited production, widely regarded as one of the best looking C4s they ever made. I think that car is also going to go the same way as the this previously mentioned C4 ZR1. I think it's going to maintain and improve its value indefinitely. The C5 Z06, anyone who watches this channel knows that I have a great love for that car. It is kind of the last analog Corvette, but still having so many of the modern engineering benefits like the hydroformed frame rails, the LS engine, the lightweight, the 50-50 weight balance. I don't think the C5 Z06 is ever going to be regarded as anything other than just a really great car. Same thing with the C6 Z06. I think that those cars that are around 20 years from now, they'll all have had the heads addressed. All of those valve problems will have disappeared. And those cars, again, for the same reason as the C5 Z06, will be regarded as a pinnacle of old school meets new school and just absolute performance dominance in their time. The C6 ZR1 is currently undervalued, I believe. And I think that, again, limited production, 638 horses, largely carbon fiber body, and a bunch of ZR1 only stuff. I think those cars will become seriously collectible in the next decade and a half. Similarly, the 427 convertibles, 2013s, where you were able to get a manual LS7 in convertible form, the only time you're able to get that, those cars are definitely going to maintain their value as long as some owner takes care of the potential cylinder head valve problems ahead of time. Moving into the newer cars, I think it goes without saying that the C7 Z06 and the C7 ZR1 absolutely going to be collector's items for probably ever, because they are the pinnacle of what Corvette was able to achieve with the traditional front engine rear drive layout. The Z06, 650 horses, it was an absolute ground pounder. And if some of the little problems that, the cracking rims and the cooling issues and stuff, most of that stuff's been resolved in those cars already. And certainly in 10 to 20 years, the cars that still remain will have had that addressed. The C7 ZR1, they're collector cars now. I can't imagine what they're going to be doing in 20 years, because that is truly the top of the line, end of the run of the front engine rear drive Corvette. I would say that, well into the mid 6 digits in 10 to 15 years. Now, this is kind of prognosticating because these are current cars. For the same reasons I've mentioned about the C5 and C6 and C7 Z06, I think the C8 Z06 being the most powerfully engined car, naturally aspirated engine car ever to this point in history. The 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8, I think the sound, just the overall package of that car is going to survive really, really well. I don't know that in the C9 you're going to see a naturally aspirated version of an engine that powerful again without turbocharging or something like that. So I think that this is a snapshot of a moment in time that's going to be really important in the future. I think the C8 ZR1 and ZR1X will also be collectible. Again, we haven't even seen how those cars are going to be reliability-wise or if they're going to have serious issues. Let's assume not. Just because of the power they make, I imagine that they will have a value well into the future. That leads us to the cars that I don't necessarily think will be fondly remembered or sought after in 15 to 20 years. First of those groups would be the 84 to 89 Corvette automatic coupes. Please understand, I'm not saying these were bad cars or are bad cars. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, down the road, when there are another 2 or 3 generations of Corvettes that have been produced from this point forward, and people who are looking back nostalgically and want to pick something from their childhood or their teenage years that was special to them, they aren't necessarily going to pick cars that are going to be hugely difficult or problematic to maintain and keep running. The 84 to 89s have specifically been kind of both, so I don't foresee those being worth much money ever. The 97 to the 2000 Corvettes, kind of in the same boat, not because they weren't good cars, but because specifically with the anti-lock braking system not being able to be rebuilt in those years, that really does put a kind of a kink in the hose moving into the future, because it doesn't allow, especially as legislation tightens up on the safety regulations on these cars. If you don't have working ABS in 20 years, you may not even be able to drive the car on public roads. So that one, kind of not. 05 to 08 Corvettes, really the only problems they had were, I wasn't a huge fan of the LS2, but I know that a lot of people today are having real success with programming them and tuning them and getting a lot of power out of them. They seem to survive just fine, but the bigger problem is going to be the electronic gremlins, specifically with the body control module and a few other specific modules in those cars that even now are failing with age, and they are not being reproduced. And I don't know that they will be reproduced in the future. Now, this is the one that's going to be I'm really guessing here. I don't know that the E-Ray, as good a car as it is, and I like the E-Ray, and I think it provides a service to a certain niche of sports car owners that has not been occupied since the R8 went out of production. But I don't know that a hybrid version of the Corvette is going to be valued in 20 years, because either the Corvette's going to soldier on with some sort of internal combustion engine as long as they make the Corvette, or eventually it's going to fold and become all electric, in which case the hybrid version would be kind of superfluous. The E-Ray, the one shining light of the E-Ray for collectability is they haven't made a whole bunch of them. They haven't been a very popular car, even though they're a very good car. So that could go either way, but just I'm looking at what future legislation and future technology may bring, and I don't know that the E-Ray is going to survive to become a collectible in that 20-year period. So anyway, those are my prognostications for what's going to be a classic and what's going to be forgotten. What do you think? Put it in the comments below. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this, and I'll review them, and if there's enough information there, we'll make an additional follow-up video with some of your input. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. By the way, we hit 90 grand. Awesome. We'll see you soon.